this is Ree here. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate everyone. All praises to Kali Ma. Thank you so much for liking and subscribing. It really helps me a lot. Don't forget to check out my website, paradxastrology.com. I can help you with anything. And if you would like more exclusive occult videos that I don't post on YouTube, consider subscribing to my Patreon. It also helps support this channel. Okay, let's get into this video. So we're going to talk about the month of December and what it will mean for you and the world. So starting with, now we have Rahu, which is in Pisces, and Revati, which also means that we have Ketu in Virgo. This is going to be a whole new cycle of 18 months. Now, Revati, the simple translation is wealthy, and this is more about spiritual wealth rather than material wealth, but it does bring material wealth as well. It's about knowledge and experience, wealth in these aspects. The alternative meaning is to transcend. So that also means to go to the other side through spiritual practices, Kundalini Awakenings, working with deities, like the great saint that was a Revati ascendant in India. She had the most miraculous abilities. She was born enlightened, and she was a Revati ascendant. This is the highest version. She was said not to even have a shadow, and she had extraordinary powers, such as the power of levitation. So this is the highest example of Revati. I want to point out more of the higher examples as opposed to celebrities, because celebrities are an example of this in ego, and not necessarily what you should strive for. Rahu will amplify these types of spiritual experiences. It's represented by the lighthouse. This helps guide us on our path. And with Rahu there, this is our karmic path. For some, this will be where you need to go in this lifetime, and others, this will be moksha. We must be cautious not to get carried away by false beliefs, not to get scammed in romance, internet scams or catfish scams, partnerships by idealization, or by false knowledge or false gurus. I will make a separate video all about this coming soon. We should also be careful of earthquakes and weather issues, because Rahu does cause a lot of earthquakes, and being in Pisces, which is water, which can cause things with water like hurricanes, for example. So this means that we also have Ketu in Virgo now. Ketu will still be in Chitra, but on the Virgo side. So instead of being issues that have to do with relationships, business partnerships, even money to a certain extent, it's more about health matters, conflicts, and war. Also employment, to name a few things. Now on December 12th, we will have the moon in Scorpio, which will be a new moon in Jesta, and this will be at the Gandanta point. Jesta is the oldest, is the most senior. This has to do with authoritarian position, all about protection against universal forces. Mars is combust and unable to do his job to protect the king properly like it normally does. He is now cowardly. Aggravation and anger will be among the population, and this will be at its height. Leaders will be acting very egotistically. There will be a challenge or a crisis in these areas affecting the governments, presidents, prime ministers, rulers of countries, business leaders, celebrities, police, military, foreign affairs, and money. A possibility of health issues as well, because Mars is actually the lord of the sixth house. So whenever we have a malefic that close to the moon, we know there's some negative effects. Also, Mars will be aspecting Saturn this entire time that it's in Scorpio until the end of the month. It'll move into Sagittarius on the 29th. Then there'll be a mutual exchange between Mars and Jupiter, and that will make it a bit better, but it'll still be combust. But the thing is that Mars aspecting Saturn amplifies these aggressive acts, conflict, war, accidents, aggression, and deaths due to weather issues. Saturn is also in Shabihista, which is health and the stars as well. I'll probably make a separate video about that, but this will amplify a lot of the problems we'll see with Mars and Mars being combust. Now, Mercury will go retrograde on December 13th. This will be first in Sagittarius, so it will start as retrograde in Purvashada and then eventually it will go to Scorpio. Now, this means all communications will be revised: transportation, commerce, trade, stock market, industries in general, media, news, buying, selling, wireless communication. We will see problems, glitches in these areas. Things will slow down in these areas. This can also mean a revision in these areas also, such as law, the court system, higher learning institutions, foreign affairs, the banking system, advertising agencies, science, religion, health matters, as this will be in Sagittarius and Scorpio. Holiday travel may be backed up. Delays, especially long distance travel, problems with cyber attacks, power grid issues. Mercury will also be combust, so there'll be even more problems. The problems will increase due to this, and Mercury will be in Mula Nakshatra until December 9th. So before the retrograde, it'll be in Mula Nakshatra, which is creating some health matters. And we're seeing this already in the world, where they're saying there's new variants and things happening in China to do with health matters as well. Now, when it starts its retrograde December 9th in Purvashada, this translates into the former invincible one, or former unconquered. This is often associated with aggressive acts of all kinds, and Mars will be in Scorpio, combust, feeling that it's entitled to these violent acts and invasions. Ego is at an all-time high. Rules are being broken due to selfishness. Communication will not be accurate. News reporting will be reporting false stories, and there could be many fires, there could be weapons used. Leaders may be asking people to start wearing masks, because Purvashada has to do with the mask. This could be due to new variants, as Jupiter is in retrograde in Ashwini, which is health. This may not work because concealed facts may become public. There could be a spill in the ocean, which could be a deadly poison due to a glitch somewhere or a problem within the waters. This may be some kind of accident in the ocean, or maybe a weather disaster. December 16th, revisiting the matters of health, getting to the root of these health issues from now or from the past, the hidden realms, the motives, the events, collecting the tools from the past in order to move forward. Investigations start concerning health, vaccines, transport, the root of all diseases. Ketu is now in Virgo, which is also health. But remember, it's in Chitra, which creates illusions which are not necessarily the truth. So we gotta be careful of that. The deity, as per Vedic text, is the goddess of dissolution and destruction, which is Niriti. Niriti translates into calamity, and she is the daughter of Adharma, which is unrighteousness, and Himsa, which is violence, and the mother of Mitru, which is death, and Bhaya, which is fear. Some texts say that she's a destructive demon, and some texts say she's the opposite of Lakshmi, which is the goddess of wealth and abundance and prosperity. Even though this is the case, this nakshatra is also seen as the peak of material achievements. These may be revisited to see if they are real or not. Some things about finance may be revisited, and also some deaths may occur. Then on December 27th, Mercury will be going into Scorpio, and it will be retrograding into Jesta Nakshatra. So then we'll be looking into the areas of protection. How can we better safeguard ourselves against attacks and war or health? Some may go on the attack, as Mars will be at the Gandanta point. Remember, the Gandanta point signals a challenge or a crisis. They will conjunct and then switch signs. This will conjunct in Mula Nakshatra on December 27th, signaling a problem in the Mula related themes that I just mentioned. Mars will be combust, showing that the protection against this may not be there. Mercury will go into Jesta, which is how one protects itself, and asks authorities for help. Another scenario is that the previous pandemic is shown to have not helped the population, and when we are now revisiting these types of issues. So there's a lot of smoke and mirrors. Venus will go into Scorpio on December 24th. Now, Venus and Scorpio can create obsession in love, especially because Rahu is in Pisces. And this is a time where emotions can overcome logic, as Mercury is also combust in retrograde. Do not lead based on desires. This is how you can make life-changing mistakes. I'm going to give you 2 examples. One example is there was a corrections officer with Venus in Scorpio and Moon in Jessa, was caught having a secret affair with an inmate. She let her desires overtake her logic, and this landed her in prison. Some may think it's love when it's only obsession. Sometimes it's about control. I met a guy one time, and after 2 weeks, he got my entire body and face tattooed on his arm. And then he told me that now you're stuck with me for life. This is another example of a lower frequency person with Venus in Scorpio, which is about control and what Venus in Scorpio lower frequency can do. Mars will be conjunct by sign at the Gandanta point, and it will also be combust. So there is a challenge, and Venus might try to cling on. Mars and Venus conjunctions can also be an indicator of domestic violence. So we need to be cautious. Use this for attraction if you must, but do not get obsessive. Use this for your love of the occult and metaphysical subjects instead. Then we have the full moon in Ardara in Gemini, which will be on December 26th. Mars and then Mercury retrograde will be in the Gandanta point. There's a storm brewing. This can be literal or metaphorical. There's sorrow in the air. Mars is at the Gandanta point and Mercury retrograde combust. Mars is in the 6th house combust and is showing problems in the matters of war, health, conflicts, obstacles, employment. A major problem must be solved that requires change, but Mars doesn't have the ability to do this properly. Mercury and Sun in Mula and Ketu in Virgo is showing this could be in the matters of health. Leaders will be acting in their own favor, but not in favor of the people. They are selfish and not thinking of the people. Rahu is still at the Gandanta point in Pisces, and this can signal hospitalizations. A change must occur. This could be weather issues, as Rudra is the storm god and the ruler of Ardara and the 4th house lord and Gemini's lord, which is where Ardara is, and Mercury is in the Gandanta point in Sagittarius. So probably around this time, maybe a little bit before, a little bit after, that's when we're going to see some major storms. So on December 27th, like I mentioned a bit, Mars will be going into Sagittarius, where we'll be taking action based on health matters, and this could also lead to destruction and violence. Jupiter has been retrograde since September 4th and will become progressive on December 30th. Jupiter is in Ashwini, and it was there on April 21st to June 21st, so you can look back and see what happened then to see how it may relate to you. So right now, since it's in retrograde until December 30th, people are assessing health issues, getting aid in them. And this could also be causing certain health issues as well, because it wants you to look at these things. This nakshatra provides knowledge to heal all issues on the material plane, natural cures, especially herbs, and the study of Ayurveda. Many will turn to these methods as the medical industry comes into question, especially now that Ketu is in Virgo. The study of esoteric and metaphysical teachings will help. This is also a reevaluating of the markets and commerce. It can also bring isolation as it's ruled by Ketu. Some can feel dissatisfied because some can feel very frustrated. This can emerge. Once it starts to go forward again, we will be able to find more cures for these things and start moving forward. So that part depends on your chart, depends what kind of Jupiter you were born with as well. But that is just briefly what can happen. Now remember, most of these placements I'll have separate videos for, especially for the moons, and I'll really break it down. So make sure you come back.